Hello and welcome to episode number 9 of Calder's Calling, AHL News Now's flagship podcast and your premier destination for everything surrounding the American Hockey League. I'm this week's host. I'm Deana Weinheimer, and joining me are Corey Swartz and Jay Forster. How are you both?
I am doing okay. It is a wonderful Tuesday here.
Yeah, we're
just
surviving.
Said okay. you said okay, like something bad had happened. I'm like, oh wait.
No, it's just Tuesday. You know, I don't know what it is about Tuesdays. They're always like this.
Well, but brighten up, because by the time we hear this, or our listeners hear this, it will be Wednesday, so no longer Tuesday. So hopefully people are a bit happier. But also, we're going to be joined later in the show by the head coach of the Ontario Reign and Germany hockey legend, Marco Sturm. So stay tuned for that. Before we really kick things off, if you aren't already subscribed to us on your favorite podcasting platform or on YouTube, do it now. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click like and hit that bell so you can get every episode straight into your feed. And also, I want to thank our show sponsor, Document Doctors. When they are not on the ice, they can help you and your business optimize and increase your revenue and profits to a bigger slice. Check out DocumentDoctorsLLC.com, and don't forget to mention that AHL News Now sent you to them. Every time you do, it helps us out, and we appreciate that very much. So we're just going to roll right into the quick kicks. You know, sometimes a player gives a check and then 2 seconds later they're gone. That's pretty much this segment of the show. We're just going to look back at some of the more newsworthy items over the past week in American Hockey League action. And Corey's going to get us started out with some extension news in mid-February. What's going on, Corey?
Well, Deana, you talked about checks. This one's a check that's being cashed, and that is the Washington Capitals extending goaltender Clay Stevenson for 3 additional seasons. The rookie goaltender leads the AHL with a 1.70 goals against average and a .934 save percentage. He has been outstanding for the Hershey Bears so far this season, and it's great to see him rewarded. Now, the first season, that's going to be a 2-way contract, and the other 2 seasons are going to be a 1-way contract. So if you're reading between the lines a little bit there, it wouldn't be surprised to see him in the mix for potentially a job in Washington sometime in the future.
All I know is he did a number against the Cleveland Monsters when they were in town this past weekend, and while I'm excited for him, I kind of don't want to talk about it.
I could understand that. Absolutely.
Earlier on Tuesday, the American Hockey League announced that Chicago Wolves head coach Bob Nardella had been suspended for 10 games as a consequence of his actions during a game at Texas on December 9th. They explained that he was assessed a game misconduct for abuse of officials at 8:48 of the third period after using homophobic language. In their press release, the American Hockey League says, quote, "The American Hockey League is committed to building a culture that is safe, inclusive, and free from abuse, harassment, and all forms of unethical behavior or misconduct. During the suspension, Nardella will be permitted to participate in team practices on non-game days, and he will be eligible to return to the Wolves bench on January 6th, end quote." In the same game, as his actions in the exact same game, only later on in the game, Chicago Wolves forward Dominic Franco also is being suspended for 1 game as a consequence of his actions. This is an automatic 1-game suspension under provisions of AHL Rule 23.4 for accumulating his 2nd game misconduct in the abuse of officials category this season. By the time you hear this, his suspension will already be served, as he is missing Tuesday's game at Iowa. So actually later on Tuesday, the Chicago Wolves did release a statement saying, quote, "On Tuesday, the American Hockey League suspended Chicago Wolves coach Bob Nardella for 10 games as a consequence of his actions towards officials during Saturday's game at Texas. This is the big part of the statement. The Chicago Wolves do not tolerate derogatory language of any kind on or off the ice. If there's any other repercussions, that is yet to be seen, but that was big news coming down, a big message from the league coming down on Tuesday afternoon.
Chicago Wolves season just kind of keeps on happening to people, huh?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
For a team that's kind of led a lot of charges in diversity and inclusion and things, it's sad to see.
Yeah. In better news, goalies. San Diego Gulls netminder Tomas Suchanek, was named the Howie's Hockey Tape AHL Player of the Week. And for the period ending December 10th, he stopped 74 of 77 total shots to backstop the Gulls to 3 consecutive road wins. Extremely cool biker, like Sons of Anarchy style jacket for Suchanek there in the picture if you're watching this on YouTube. But he's just a really fun story. He was a big piece of that Czechia team that got this close to winning the gold at the World Juniors most recently, and now he seems to be single-handedly pulling the Ducks out of the Gulls, out of their season-long slump, which I think we're going to talk about in just a little bit here.
I just love how more AHL teams are getting their own, celebratory item. Some have, like with the Gulls, they have that really cool jacket, the biker jacket. Some teams have I know Cleveland has like a Cleveland Browns dog mask and they give their dog at the game. Rochester has that
horrifying eagle head. Yeah.
Right. It's just fun to see these teams having a little bit of fun. And honestly, speaking of a little bit of fun, Adam Cracknell, 38-year-old veteran of the American League and the National Hockey League, recorded a hat trick this past weekend. If you're on YouTube, you can kind of see some footage of that. But, you hear of these young kids getting hatties and all that. But for a guy who's basically a year younger than myself, I couldn't imagine doing this at, the top development league pretty much across the world. At 38 years old. And Jay, I'm sorry it's against your San Jose Barracuda, but way to go, Adam Cracknell.
This just happens this season. It's fine. Adam Cracknell, you think that they brought him in to be, a good veteran piece and to, babysit the kids, basically. And last I checked, he has 18, 19 points on the season in 20-something games. So he's clearly not just there for veteran presence. He's there because he wants to score goals. And I think that's real cool.
Yeah, speaking of real cool, we have a trade to talk about here at the AHL level. Kind of a bit of a rarity at times here, but the Rockford Ice Hogs acquired Austin Strand from the Chicago Wolves in exchange for Zach Jordan. So that's 2 players getting swapped out. It'll be interesting to see how those impacts each team's overall matrix. But an interesting trade. You don't see too many at the AHL level quite like that this time of year especially. So it's always worth pointing out. Other things worth pointing out, 2 milestones over the past weekend. Milwaukee's Anthony Angelo played his 250th career AHL game on Saturday in Iowa. And on the same night, Utica's Tyler Wotherspoon played in his 600th AHL game. Congrats to both players. It feels weird to say those 2 teams with those 2 players because I am extremely used to them playing on some of my Atlantic Division rivals. So it always feels weird to say Milwaukee, Anthony Angelo, Utica, Tyler Wotherspoon. So a little bit of a different look here, but it's great to see those guys thriving in the AHL still.
Going back to the trade, can I just say that it's kind of refreshing in the American Hockey League to have a trade with a player going the other way and not future considerations?
I wonder if you're going to see more of that because obviously Chicago doesn't have – it only has guys on AHL contract, So I wonder if as the playoffs start to roll here, I wonder if we're going to see more of Chicago's players move to teams that are going to be in a playoff push.
Possibly. It's just, I'm just so used to it over the last few seasons that it's just all the joke about future considerations, but maybe this season is a turning point for the American Hockey League. And kind of just building off of Corey talking about the Utica Comets here, if you're nearby Utica this Friday and you put a chance to get free glass seats, then you better show up to their game on Friday night. So the team posted that they will be welcoming their 1 millionth fan on Friday. And that fan, and I assume their group, will be upgraded to glass seats, and they are promising much more. Now, we saw this, what was it, with Lehigh Valley earlier on, where they hit a huge milestone with fans, and that person got all sorts of swag, and they got to drop the puck, and they were basically treated like royalty for the evening. So if you want a good game of hockey and, maybe play the odds a little bit, let me just say, may the odds be ever in your favor, and good luck on becoming the 1 millionth fan of the Utica Comets on Friday. So that person's going to have a great shining star of a night, but our focus for right now is going to be our 3 stars of the past week. And let's just kind of go for my 2 co-hosts in alphabetical order for them. And I'm going to let Corey kick this off. And I think you have 2 co-stars, right?
Yeah. So I had a hard time just picking one this time around. So I figured I'd pick 2. And the first one is not a surprise to either of you guys, but to our viewers, it will be a surprise because it's not a Hershey Bears player. I elected to go the route of former Hershey Bears players this time around. Nathan Walker. Nathan Walker is my first pick here. This guy, I know we talked about him earlier this season, but I feel like it's worth talking about again because I wasn't the one who got to talk about it. So, Nathan's been on a tear again recently. He had a little bit of a quiet spell, but how about to the tune of 8 points in his last 4 games, 2 goals, 6 assists. His last game, I believe, was another multi-point game. I believe it was a goal and at least 2 assists, maybe 3. It was a big night for him on Teddy Bear Toss night. I predicted it over on Twitter before it happened, although I predicted he'd score the Teddy Bear Toss goal. His family was there, and they brought stuffed koalas to the game, believe it or not. So leaning into his Australian heritage there.
10 out of 10.
Outstanding. Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. So I was really wishing he'd score the goal, but settling for one of the goals is, I think, the next best thing. I was referencing the time he brought a gigantic teddy bear, larger or as large as he was, to Hershey's Teddy Bear Toss the last time he was here back in 2018. So it was kind of cool to see him and his family show up for another big night there again this past weekend. So my second one, Maverick Bourque. It's easier to count the games this guy hasn't scored a point in, which is only 4 out of, I believe, 21 games that he's played this season. And, you might be, curious to think that, okay, he was, again, a guy who's been scoring a lot of points this season. He just casually had 6 points in his last 2 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. It is no wonder to me that the Texas Stars are one of the league's leading scorers, with a few games less played than a lot of teams. I know, they're just ahead of the Bears in terms of overall goals scored, but it's only by a couple, and they played 4 less games. These guys seem to be the runaway pick for team most likely to fill your net award here so far. Maverick Bourque is leading the charge in that endeavor. I believe 2 Texas Stars players are leading the league in terms of points scored. So a very nice notch in their belt for this early stage of the season.
Speaking of guys that are leading some scoring races or almost leading some scoring races, I'm going for a topical player from the Ontario Reign. I'm going with Brandt Clarke, rookie defenseman, has 5 points in his last 3 games this week, 7 points in his last 4, and get this, he is 5th in the entire AHL in scoring. As a defenseman, he has 25 points in 23 games. He is literally just turned 20 I believe. And he's leading his team in scoring. He's leading all defensemen in scoring. He's second in rookie scoring behind only Logan Stankoven. Just incredible work from Clark. Such a good, fun young player. It makes me mad to think that he's going to be this good for a very long time on the Kings.
And there's that second Texas player that Corey was referring to.
I figured it was going to come up here eventually.
I did almost pick Stankoven, but then I looked and I was like, holy heck, how did Brent Clark get all the way up there without me noticing? So I figured I had to pick him.
So I'm going to go silly for my start of the week and just kind of follow along this train of thought of teddy bear tosses and things like that. So my star of the week goes to whatever fan in Syracuse brought a giant stuffed sloth to the game, and also to Sean Element, who, if you're watching on YouTube, see it right here, belly flops directly onto the stuffed sloth, tosses it over as fans continue to pelt him with teddy bears. But yeah, I love to see the players having fun with this, and 10 out of 10 belly flop there.
So I have it on good authority, speaking of players having fun with teddy bear tosses, that I don't remember if it was the Laval Rockets teddy bear toss or the teddy bear toss that they were the away team for, but he was, after the Bears were thrown, skating around the ice with a giant stuffed alligator draped around his neck. So I do love that.
Who was this?
This was Logan Mailloux of the Laval Rocket.
I love it.
I haven't been able to find video or picture evidence of this. I'm going off of a reporter who was there, but I love when they have fun with the teddy bear toss. So yes. It's always fun.
Cleveland's is on Friday, and I am beyond excited. I'm still debating if I'm going to go and cover it as media, or if I'm going to take, a night off and enjoy some teddy bear chucking of my own.
I have less than a month until Hershey's on January 7th, and with the piles that they get there, it's always fun to play at what I call spot the player in the giant pile of teddy bears, because there are times where they'll jump in and you're sort of like, they'll be taking pictures of the pile and you're like, oh, there's a player at the bottom of that pile. So it's always fun. I'm hoping for a better teddy bear toss this year, selfishly, but it's always a lot of fun. Anything to not repeat last year.
It's very good to it's almost like they are dogs jumping in piles of leaves. I feel like that's what it is. It's all of the TikToks of the dogs jumping into piles of leaves, except it's hockey players launching themselves into piles of stuffed animals.
So, Corey, for those that don't know, do you want me to tell them what happened last year to Hershey, or do you want to relive that nightmare?
I was there. It was the night nobody scored the teddy bear toss goal. It was one of the stranger hockey oddities I think I can ever say that I was a part of. And it was worse for me because I brought a huge teddy bear. I had to sit on it for the entire game, basically, because it was a sold-out crowd. So they went the entire 60 minutes without scoring a goal. Actually, it wasn't completely 60 minutes because the fans kind of mutinied at the end of the game. And, when you tell a bunch of, so the Bears were down 2-0 at this point. 2-0 ended up being the final score. And unfortunately, they had to make the sad announcement that if the Bears did score a goal, that they wouldn't throw the teddy bears at a hypothetical goal in order to give the Bears a chance to come back and, try to tie the game type of thing. Of course, that didn't happen, but that announcement killed all of the, turned all the pent up teddy bear energy into rage. So you kind of could see one teddy bear start flying around the crowd, land on the ice. People were sitting there. They came for a teddy bear toss, and it didn't happen. So everyone just
they came to throw some bears, and dang it, they're gonna throw some bears.
Exactly. So it was only with 3 seconds left. A couple of seconds. They just called the game at that point. So a little bit of unfortunate teddy bear lore happened in Hershey. Set a new record, but unfortunately, that kind of killed the vibe a little bit in the rink of setting a new record because of all that. So hoping for a goal and a more traditional teddy bear toss this time around when the Bears play on January 7th.
God, that's so funny. I hadn't heard that story. I didn't know that was what happened last year. That's incredible. Mob mentality is real, and it involves throwing teddy bears. I thought that might be what you were going to say happened, that they just decided to mutiny halfway through the period and throw all of the bears, but delightful.
I believe the title of my recap for that game was Furry Fury, because the Bears threw their teddy bears on the ice early for that one. And, again, totally justified. It was the kind of game where the Bears just couldn't buy a goal. Everything was just perfect, and it just didn't work out to be perfect, unfortunately. And the funny memory I have of it is it was such an atypical teddy bear toss, because anytime you see any video of Hershey's, the goal horn is blaring. Everyone's kind of going crazy. They just scored a goal, so everyone's normally like this. This time it was kind of like watching it snow almost, because it was so unusual. There was no music playing between the whistles. It was just kind of this silent, toss with some anger behind it type of thing. So it was just a totally different feel. You never think about how different it could possibly be to witness this. I know personally, I was very upset. I was like, here we go. I'm not having fun. The whole pent up feelings of that entire game were just it was a tough night at the rink. I remember they had to put the Philadelphia Eagles game on to kind of console fans at that time. I believe the Eagles were pushing to get to the Super Bowl at that point. So it was, they had to try to pull some tricks in the book to, turn everybody's mood around a little bit there too.
Instead of some sweet, cuddly mayhem, it was some spicy, cuddly mayhem.
We'll trade it every day for a Calder Cup, but we just don't, this year I want to have my cake and eat it too.
I don't blame you. Might as well get the whole championship experience, right?
Exactly. I remember that being the words of friend of the show, Zach Fish, at the Bears, Calder Cup celebration, in kind of reviewing the season. He said, we didn't have fun at the teddy bear toss, but we'll trade that for a Calder Cup this time around every day of the week. So all's well that ends well in that story.
All right. We're going to go ahead and kind of break up into some individual segments here. And we have one more segment before we get to our special guest. But this one's going to be led by Jay, who wants to talk about some rookies.
Yeah, I figure why not continue my it's not a rant, really, but let's continue my talk about some impressive rookies this season, because I just mentioned, obviously, Brent Clark, 25 points in 23 games as a 20-year-old defenseman. Logan Stankoven, 29 points in 21 games as, again, a 20-year-old playing in the AHL as a rookie. And even, guys like Joshua Watt, who was really slowed down after having a really, really hot start, and he still got 20 points in 23 games. I want to give shout outs to Brendan Othman, who is having a really, really good rookie season. And I want to talk about goalies as well. Obviously, we talked about Clay Stevenson already, but I want to give some flowers to Dennis Hildeby, who hit 10 games in his rookie season, has a goals against average of 1.8 and a save percentage of 927. Eric Portillo doing incredible things in Ontario, if I can bring up an Ontario player again. But just, I feel like this year more than most years, there are so many good rookies that I'm like, man, who are we going to give the Rookie of the Year award to this season? Because for my money, at risk of being a homer, David Jiricek was far and away the best rookie in the AHL last season. But I'm looking at all of the players this year, and I'm like, wow, who do we pick out of all of these incredible players? And like that, I think I mentioned 6 names. I could easily mention 10 more. Olin Zellweger is having a fantastic season. Brad Lambert is having a fantastic season. Heater Chiprikov is having a fantastic season. Like, it's so much fun. I love when the kids succeed because it makes the AHL better.
I just want to know what, for those who vote on this or who decide who the AHL Rookie of the Year is, what kind of criteria that they're going to use? Because you can't just say, oh, this player got the most points or the most goals or whatever. you have a case, like you said, for at least, if you were kind of pulling odds right now or whatever, at least I'd say 10 people would be in the running for me, and I wouldn't know how to pick out of those 10. And I think you named just about all of them except for maybe John Farinacci out of Providence.
Yeah, and like again, that's there are other guys that I haven't even mentioned. Samu Tuomala is one of them. Matt Coronato in Calgary. Like I could go on and on and on. In terms of AHL Player of the Year, last year it went to Ty Carty out of Coachella Valley, who had 57 points in 72 games as a 21-year-old. So it really could be anyone's. My money might be on Brent Clark, just because to score that many points as a defenseman in this league is very impressive. But I don't think you can discount, what Logan Stankoven is doing in Texas, because that is just so dang impressive.
Another bit that Jay's not mentioning here is that, the top 3 goaltenders in the AHL right now are all rookies too. I mean, we mentioned them by name there too. I know how much Jay likes goalies, so I just wanted to, quick make mention of that, the goalies are really crushing it this year. I think that, you can't discount them from this conversation too.
Yeah, 100%. So the top 3 goalies by goals against average are rookies. If you switch to save percentage, they drop to 2, 3, and 4, but that's still incredibly impressive. And I don't think there's any shame in losing top goalie honors to Jesper Wallstedt, who is just so friggin' good, So again, just Clay Stevenson, a 934, Eric Portillo, a 931, Dennis Hildeby, a 927. Like, beating out other young guys, beating out other veterans, like Dustin Wolf, who was widely considered to be, maybe the best goalie in the AHL, is sitting at a 920 at the minute. And so these guys are all outperforming him right now. And it's really fun to see. I think rookie goalies, more than any other type of rookie, I think are the most fun because they so rarely get the chance to shine. Because many teams will not go with a rookie goalie as their starter unless they are absolutely forced to. And it looks like there are 3 teams here that have been forced to go with their rookie goalies in Stevenson, Portillo, and Hildeby. So shout out to those 3 guys.
Or they forced the team to go with them.
Yes, exactly.
Because you hear that.
Yes,
so
sorry, I shouldn't say that they were forced into this. The team was forced into this position, but it was sometimes you play the hot hand.
Yes.
If we can look at what's happening in the NHL right now, Connor Ingram has basically just taken the starter's job in Arizona because Karel Vejmelka was not doing it. We see it year in, year out. A backup goalie comes in super hot and takes the starting job. But I can't remember the last time it happened to 3 teams who all had rookie goalies. And it's a lot of fun. Some teams, by the way, are rolling with 2 rookie goalies as their tandem. At least Rockford has 2 rookies in Drew Comesso and Jackson Stauber. And my guys, the Barracuda, have Magnus Kroner, best name in the AHL, I would like to argue, and Georgi Romanov. 2 rookie goalies, again, playing in their very first pro season in North America. So lots of rookies in the AHL this season, but lots of rookies succeeding, which you love to see.
The 2023-24 AHL season is for the rookies. At this point, I don't know, might be surprised they make it player of the year honors, The way this is going, we could see rookies cleaning up at the end of year awards, but we got to move on. And before we move on to our next segment, which is our special guest, Marco Sturm, I do have a little bit more to share about our sponsor, Document Doctors. Is your business growing beyond the 4 walls of your office? As businesses grow, so do the challenges of keeping people trained, safe, and supported. Document Doctors, a proud sponsor of the Calder's Calling podcast and AHL News Now, offers you affordable solutions to help optimize your business and to keep the good times rolling. They offer content-focused solutions like training document creation, back office process optimization, policy and procedure development, and much more. Support our podcast and AHL News Now by visiting them at Document Doctors LLC. So that's just like laser Calder.com, and don't forget to mention us when talking to their team of contentologists. Be sure to shop and support small businesses today. And now it's time to welcome this episode's guest, Marco Sturm, who is the current head coach of the Ontario Reign and got his start in pro hockey in Germany's Deutsche Eishockey Liga, scoring 12 goals, 32 points over 47 games as a 17-year-old rookie. He was then drafted 21st overall by the San Jose Sharks in the 1996 NHL entry draft. Across his NHL playing career, he tallied 242 goals, 245 assists for 487 points in 938 regular season games. And let's not forget those 68 playoff games and those 22 points for the Sharks, Bruins, Kings, Capitals, Canucks, and Panthers. The former NHL All-Star was the most productive German player in the league until Edmonton's Leon Draisaitl surpassed him in 2021. Internationally, our guest competed for Germany in 4 different IIHF World Championships, 2 Winter Olympics, and 1 World Cup. After his playing career retirement, he moved on to serve as the head coach and general manager of the German national team. That was announced in July 2015. That year, he led the squad to the 2015 Deutschland Cup title. His leadership also led the German team to a silver medal at the 2018 Winter Olympics. Now heading up the AHL's Ontario Reign, we welcome Marco Sturm to the show. Marco, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to get started. You know, you've played in and coached in quite a few different leagues and levels of international play. Of course, the DEL, AHL, the NHL, just to name a few. But of course, we all know the American Hockey League is a developmental league. But I was just curious, what sorts of different culture and playing style differences have you noticed about the American Hockey League compared to all of the others you've experienced?
Well, I always say there's always a reason why the players in AHL, and it's nothing against the players. It's just you can see lots of young kids. They're just not ready, right? And we all have dreams. They all want to be in the NHL, or most of them. And I think the AHL is just a perfect league to develop. And because of that, because of their play and the age and all that kind of stuff, you can see, some kids just need longer than others. And when I was in Germany, you kind of they were growing up more. They're more like men versus young adults, and that's for me. It's the big difference, and but it's it's also a development league for us and for every team probably and that's our biggest challenge, right? You wanna be productive, you wanna win hockey games, but you all have to make sure you're gonna develop those kids so they can make it to the big club.
Speaking on development, AHL coaches have a unique position that they work closely with their NHL affiliates in terms of, putting players in different situations and where they play in the lineup. How has your relationship worked with the Kings in terms of utilization of their prospects?
Yeah, one of the reasons, or the biggest reason is why I took this Ontario job was because the situation we are in with the Los Angeles Kings. That means my relationship to Todd McLennan and the coaching staff it's better than good. My relationship to Rob Blake and management's been outstanding. And you know what? And our practicing rink, we're right next door, and we're all under one roof. And just on game day, we go different directions. And it's a great first of all, it's a great organization. It's a great setup we have for both Ontario and the Kings, players have it really good, and also coaches, right? And for me, that was really important to be in this kind of environment where I feel comfortable, where I get what I need, and I have that in LA. And all of them, they treat me so well, and our team, and it's fun to work with, right? I enjoy my work every day, and I have fun going to the rink.
I want to talk a little bit about international play now as opposed to the AHL, because I feel like we're seeing more and more parity in terms of international play. Obviously, Germany won, I believe, the silver medal in not the last Winter Olympics, but the Winter Olympics before that. And we're seeing a lot of young German players kind of make impacts on this league. Obviously, Leon Draisaitl isn't super young anymore, but he's really exciting. Mo Seider, Lucas Reichel, Tim Stützle. How exciting is it for you to kind of see Germany kind of come into its own as a force in terms of international play?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, I'm so proud, and I also, I don't know, tap my shoulders, but I had nothing to do with it, right? But it's just because I'm German, and I just love to see those kids have success. I think I think we always had the same amount of players, German players in the league, kind of. But now the big difference is that those are in the league right now. They're almost superstars, right? And that's so nice to see. And we started something really good with the national team and also with the German league. And for different reasons, we have different programs going on. We develop young kids at earlier ages better than in the past. So now finally we can see the result, and I hope they're just going to continue to do that, because it's great to see. And for me, it's those kind of names you just mentioned, I love to watch every day, and it makes me smile, and also very proud that those guys, like they're stars in the league, and they make difference. So again, it was a lot of work, but we hopefully we can grow more German players like we have right now.
So just pivoting to your current career with coaching, what made you want to get into the coaching side of the game, and what do you enjoy the most about your job?
Well, I'm probably like any other coach. I never thought I would be a coach, right? Everyone said probably the same thing. But, when I was done with hockey, I was just done. I just had so many injuries, and I just wanted to have or enjoy my time with my family. What I did that time, we stayed in Florida because the Panthers were my last team. So we kind of stayed there because of my kids. They didn't want to move again. And then both my kids, my boy and my daughter, they played hockey, right? Junior hockey for the Junior Panthers. And one day my son was asking, "Hey, Daddy, can he please come to one of the practices?" So I started to go there. I started to go on the ice. And then all of a sudden, it got more and more, right? I started to work more for the Junior Panthers, for the school, for the high school, for the prep school. All of a sudden, it got into the German national team, and kind of grew from there. So out of nothing, all of a sudden, I ended up, with the Kings too. So happened really fast, but I also have to say, early on, I really enjoyed what I never thought I would. And I just, love to, give the players all the experience I had as a player and as a coach. I just love to give it to them, and to help them to move forward what I learned in the past, and also playing with a lot of good players. So again, this is something I think I'm good at. I also like to communicate a lot with players. I think in these days now, as a coach, things changed, right? A lot of the young kids, they want to feel important, so you got to communicate a little bit better, and I think that's my strength. So here I am, and I'm just trying to get better every day. And right now, I'm enjoying my time with Ontario.
What kind of skills do you rely on from your playing days, really, to kind of help you in this? Is obviously, you've gone through a couple of different levels here to get to coaching, but I'm sure you rely on your experience from your playing days to help guide some of these kids on this next path.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be on the ice, it could be off the ice, right? And that is huge. It's huge, right? I know how the guys think. I know when they struggle, what's going up in their brains, right? I know when they feel tired. I know that when they when they have a lot of stuff going on. I know when they, coach, what should I do when I struggle scoring goals? So all those moments they're in, like, I've been through it, right? And again, that's where it's nice for me just being around good teams and being around the National Hockey League. That helped me be a better coach. And that, again, I love sharing. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about myself with my players, but again, I kind of throw it in there without let them know. And, even through drills, through video, all that kind of stuff, what I experience, I just try to help them. And that's been, it's been very helpful.
Kind of just following on from that, I'm always really interested in the thought process behind what makes someone a good coach, or how do you become a good coach? Do you have kind of a mantra or a philosophy in regards to coaching that you're if I can go about my day and I can do this one thing, it's been a good day of coaching, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, end of the day, there's no perfect coach, right? Somebody will be out there that just like you because of whatever reason. And but I do have some good coaches too, like Daryl Sutter, for example, when I was in San Jose, Claude Julien. Those are the coaches I felt like I learned the most. And why? Just the way they handled things. They've been very honest and very direct. Did I like it? Not so much sometimes, but end of the day, it made me a better player. So there's a lot of those. I think those two, especially those two coaches, I think about a lot sometimes, and again, it just helped me, and it was a little bit of old school, but I still think part of old school is still in the game. And you just have to be a little bit careful. You got to find the right line, right, with those young kids. I mentioned it already. So, and again, this is another thing where I grew up. I grew up old school wise, but also finished with the new generation. So I got a little bit of both. I was lucky, and yeah. But if I have to answer your question, and those are my two mentors.
So to close this out, we're going to look at your team just a little bit and the players. I mean, Ontario, honestly, the team's been good for the last few seasons, definitely. And this season, you have a nice mix of veteran talent. Of course, TJ Tynan, he's always up there in scoring. Rookie Brant Clark, leading the team. And you have a nice mix of young players that have been around a little bit, and say like Kevin Connaughton and David Riddick. Just what is your analysis of the team so far, and what has been your favorite moment that maybe we in the public have not seen?
For me, development also. If you want to hurry up development with any individual, I think you need to have a good team. And if you look at last year, we had too many young kids, and that's something I wanted to improve, is having little bit more leadership, a little bit more veterans in our team, because those guys are very, very important, believe it or not. Also, winning is a little bit important. Is it the biggest thing? No, or the most important thing? Maybe not, but I know it's gonna hurry things up. And if you have those kind of players around you, and if you end up winning some hockey games, you know what? It helps those young kids to grow faster, and that's something I experienced myself in. I feel like I was in lots of rebuild teams. Doesn't matter where I was, and that's, again, I've been through it way too many times. But I always thought those are key moments and key players. And like you mentioned, I think we have a much better mix this year, and that what also helps me and also the young kids to understand the importance of the game better than any other way, and that's what I enjoy.
All right, that's it for us today. Do you have any messages for the Ontario fans or LA Kings fans that might be listening?
No, I mean, again, our fan base, it doesn't matter, Kings or Ontario, it's been outstanding. We have the teddy bear toss game on the weekend, Saturday, so hopefully a lot of people will come and support us, and not just us, also the kids, right, with a lot of teddy bears. So hopefully we can give them a reason to throw it on the ice.
Well, I'm looking forward to see who gets that teddy bear toss goal for you guys. Marco, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We greatly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
So to finish out the show, as you know, we alluded to earlier, we are going to talk a little bit, stay out in the Pacific and talk about the San Diego Gulls. Corey, take it away.
Yes, I was researching this a little bit. I have to say, the fantastic article on the AHL's website about the Gulls kind of prompted me to delve deeper a little bit into this. San Diego Gulls, to me, I want to get you guys' opinion on this one. Are they a team on the rise right now? So we were talking about a couple combining factors with this one. So they, were kind of I hate to say kind of the whipping boys of the league to start the season off, because it's the San Diego Gulls. San Diego Gulling, as it seemed like it was kind of a carryover from last season. But, all of a sudden here, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. And, oh, by the way, they basically went, blow for blow with the Texas Stars. We were just talking about their magnificent scoring ability. I'm kind of feeling that San Diego's maybe starting to get it together here a little bit to become a threat. The one thing that kind of stood out to me when looking at their schedule and, just at a glance statistics is this team scores a lot more goals than I think they get credit for. They only allowed 3 goals behind the fantastic goaltending that we were talking about earlier in our quick hits segment there. But they only allowed 3 goals over 3 games. And, they only scored 17 goals in those 3 games over a couple of teams that are not slouches in Rockford and Milwaukee. And obviously they just went blow for blow. They lost, I believe, I lost my place here. They lost 6-5 in overtime to the Texas Stars, who are, one of the hottest teams in the league in terms of scoring. They've had some ups and downs here. They were one of the teams to lose to Chicago just a couple of days before that, 6-4. But my thought process with this one is that if these guys have some strong goaltending, which we're seeing here, among the league's best, they have this scoring ability. Are we kind of looking at a team that's maybe a underrated opponent in the Pacific Division? Obviously, the kind of kicker to this whole thing is that they're not exactly, sniffing a playoff spot just yet. And, some early season struggles will do that, to any team at this point. But is this a team that you guys kind of think is on the rise? Maybe their stock, if you're a gambling man or woman, are you betting on this team, as kind of a dark horse candidate?
7 of the 10 teams in the AHL make the playoffs. 7 of 10 teams in the Pacific Division of the AHL make the playoffs. I should clarify. That's an important clarification there. So they are, if I pull up the standings real quick, they're still 7 points behind 7th place, which is the Henderson Silver Knights right now. And they're only 2 points ahead of San Jose, who are currently 10th. And they're not last in the entire league. That's exciting. But
Oh, no.
I love when my team is not literally 32nd in the AHL. It's fine. But yeah, I think they're figuring some things out. I think losing Lucas Dostal was a real blow for them. But they've got reinforcements. I think, like I mentioned, Olin Zolga having a great season. I think getting Chase DeLeo back, like you mentioned, is going to be real good for them. They're probably better than their record is at the minute. I don't know if they're a playoff team. They might sneak into the playoffs and then get curb stomped by probably the Colorado at this point, or maybe Tucson. But hey, all you have to do is make the playoffs, and you got a chance to win the Calder Cup. You know.
My apologies on the slip up there too. I forgot that not every division works like the Atlantic. The Atlantic is my framework for how all playoffs work, so I apologize for the misstep. Technically not wrong, though, because of them just being on the outside looking in on the playoff picture and still with some ground to make. But yeah, I forgot to mention that, actually. Chase DeLeo was one of the other players whose stats I kind of saw and, kind of gave me some hope if I'm a armchair San Diego fan. He has 10 points in 7 games since returning to San Diego, which, we all know Chase DeLeo. He's an outstanding, veteran player to have on your team. He's going to help some of the rookies develop as well as, get this team, he's going to light the lamp. That's just what he does. So, I do kind of like that element that there's, kind of some looking up to do.
I do hate that Chase DeLeo is considered a veteran now, because I remember him being drafted. And so in my head,
Right.
He's like 22 forever. And that's simply incorrect.
Yeah, I am still grappling with the fact that he is that far out west now and not, over on the East Coast, and let alone that he's a veteran. But Corey, I'm not ready to, put any bets on this team or to even really look at them too positively whenever I'm looking at some of their wins here lately. I mean, only one of them came against the Chicago Wolves. They also lost to the Chicago Wolves. Rockford is kind of hot and cold. I mean, they're smack dab in the middle of the Central. I'm not saying that Rockford's bad, but they do have a 9-10-2 record. The bottom whole half plus one of the Central Division has not been doing too well this season. Ask me this question again when we meet on January 2nd, because the back portion of the San Diego Gulf schedule, they have the Tucson Roadrunners on December 23rd, who are 3rd in the Pacific. Then, so that they're at home for that. Then they go on the road to the Coachella Valley Firebirds, having a little bit more of a difficult sophomore season than they wanted, but they're still, 5th overall in the Pacific Division. They have a winning record. So, they're starting to make a comeback. They're 6-3, 1-0 in their last 10. They face Ontario and then Tucson again. I want to see what they do against those teams specifically before I really sign off on anything. Of course, you have a team with, Chase DeLeo. That's going to give them some hope, but you need everybody to contribute, and I'm just not sure if they're there yet. So my apologies to San Diego, but at least, again, you have Andrew Agazzino. He's doing normal Andrew Agazzino things.
I miss him.
For all I know, this could be the turnaround of something great. We could see this meteoric rise of a team out in the Pacific, but I want to see what they do against their division's top teams here in the last week or so of December before I can say yes that they are on the rise.
It's understandable. I mean, like I said, this is a team I'm, maybe building some hope off of a hot streak. And I get it that Rockford's a bit of an average team, but to me, it's kind of like, man, 7-0 win and then a 5-1 to follow it up. Like, obviously, average teams can have hot streaks, and that could be what this is, possibly. But there's sometimes where I look at it, I'm like, you know what? It might be, the start of a positive trend here for them. Maybe, they got some pieces that have gotten people talking in the last, week here or so, a couple weeks really, and it seems to be hopefully some positive moves. And if you're a San Diego Gulls fan, like you want to see this team succeed. We were just talking to Marco Sturm, who really has the Ontario Reign kind of in a good direction after some struggles that they had at times recently as well. And a lot of these Pacific teams, although they've been around the league for a couple of years, these are some teams that are still looking to have their first ever long playoff runs. I hate to say, but I was a fan of one of these teams, and I saw Coachella Valley go to the finals and almost win. They were a goal away from winning the Calder Cup. I'd be like, man, how did this team manage to, make this happen versus us? We've been toiling away here. It would have me feeling some kind of way type of thing. So I was just good food for thought here. Love studying these streaks to see if it's for real or not.
Well, on a very Pacific Division heavy show, which we don't really get a chance to do all that often.
Finally, vindication.
Yes. We're going to go ahead and close it out for this week's edition of the Calder's Calling podcast. If you'd like to check out our written coverage of the American Hockey League, please check us out online at ahlnewsnow.com. And you can also follow us on all your favorite social media platforms at AHL News Now. Please also be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast and share it with your family, friends, beer league team, line mates, whomever you would think that would like American League hockey information. And then, of course, finally, we want to extend a final thank you to our sponsor, Document Doctors. Until next week, be sure to be warming up that throwing arm. We are in the middle of teddy bear toss season, and I don't want any injuries getting y'all on the IR. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.